Good morning, and this morning I've got a confession to make. During the New Year break, we all went down to Cornwall. We had a couple of nights down there. We all drove down as a family, met some friends, stayed over and drove back. It was about a 300-mile round trip. Did I go in my Leaf? I'm afraid I didn't. I went in this instead. So why am I telling you that? I could quite happily have said nothing and carried on singing the virtues of EVs forevermore. But it's come about because I've had a couple of personal messages sent to me recently from people that watch the channel asking me about EVs and what EVs they should buy. The messages have gone along the lines of, this is the amount of mileage I do, this is where I live, what do you think is the right EV for me to get? Or what size battery should I get? It's a very personal question. It's a really difficult question to answer. The whole point of me kind of doing this channel and talking about everyday experiences of EVs isn't just to sing their praises all the time. It's to show their limitations as well. Now, the trip that I did was 150 miles there, 150 miles back. It was the south coast of Cornwall, just the other side of Plymouth, in a very kind of remote rural area. There was no destination charging there. The closest charger was about 30 miles away, I think, from where I was staying, certainly the closest rapid charger. I did some driving around when I was there. I could have done it, you know, I could have planned the trip. It's all A roads. I think I sat on the M5 for about 5 minutes, so there was one service station I could have gone to Ecotricity for. I would have needed a minimum of 2 charges each way. It was doable. I could have planned it, and you know, if I was going on my own, I probably would have taken my Leaf. The reason I didn't comes about from, well, it's kind of, I guess, 2.5 years of ownership and my stubbornness of saying, we're going to take this Leaf everywhere. I want to use it. I want to prove it works. And I think it culminated in that trip to certainly coming back from Manchester when Sarah was with me, and it wasn't just the amount of stops and the extra time it put on, because you kind of accept that. In case you're not aware, my Leaf is a 24 kilowatt hour one, and I drove from the south coast up to Manchester and back again. The stops were fine. I could get over that. Sarah was getting a little bit annoyed with them because it's a half-hour stop every time. It's when the chargers aren't working, it's when you have an issue with a charger that there isn't another one close by, and the kind of what really ruined that trip home was there was 2 polar chargers within 5 miles of each other. I had the one that I wanted to go to and the other one was my backup. They were both offline and it caused us no end of problems. Still made it home, still didn't run out of power. So on this occasion, driving back from Cornwall, we drove back on New Year's Day because Sarah was back in work on the 2nd. We couldn't be late back. We couldn't afford not to get back that night. And as per usual, Sarah still had work to do before she went back the following day. So we had to get home. And I just thought, you know what, it's easier. It's easier to take the petrol car on this occasion. And dare I say it, it was quite nice. It was almost a little bit of a relief. And the reason I say that is because I fueled it up the day before. I drove there, I drove around while I was there, and I drove home again. I didn't think at all or have to think about planning a route. Now, I don't dislike doing that, but I've done it for 2.5 years. And to go back to not having to think about it, it was almost a relief in a way. It was quite a pleasant journey. Now, that doesn't take away from the fact that it was really noisy, and there was times when we were using our phones, even the hands-free, and we had to end phone calls because we couldn't hear each other. So that wasn't pleasant. Obviously, it cost me money because I had to put petrol into it. And it's nowhere near as comfortable. We came out in the morning, it was iced up, and yeah, all the usual things that you get from moving away from your electric car. So I'm not saying it's perfect, I'm just saying that it was interesting to go back to that. Now, looking forward, if I had the 30 kilowatt hour Leaf, would I have done it? I think that might have been kind of borderline for me. I may or may not have done it on that. Probably one stop I might have been able to get away with. knowing that there's an Ecotricity charger that I can rely on the M5, I might well have done that. 40 kilowatt hour Leaf, the new one, yeah, I would have definitely have done that, and anything above that I would definitely use. Oh, the preheat's on in here, it's nice and warm. So what I'm trying to say is that when you're looking to buy an EV, it's really important to be honest with yourself, and not just think about when you first buy the EV and how exciting it is to have it, because at that point you're going to be happy to stop and charge in at any point, because it's all new and it's all exciting. Think 6 months, 12 months down the line, more than that, when actually it starts becoming a bit of a chore. And is a small battery like a 24 kilowatt hour one really sufficient for you? The answer might be absolutely yes. So for example, today we're going to Christchurch. It's a kind of a seaside town. It's about, I don't know, 12 miles from here. The reason we're going there is we're going to stay in a hotel there tonight. Sarah and I, we're dropping the kids off with the grandparents. It was Sarah's birthday last week, so it's a bit of a celebration. We're going to have a dinner out tonight, and it's all going to be very nice. The trip itself, in total, so driving from here to Christchurch, dropping the kids off, night in Christchurch, then going to pick them up and drive back here, is about 40-45 miles. That is well within the range of this car. No issues whatsoever. And the majority of the trips we do in this car are well within the range. Now that has I've had to reevaluate a little bit recently, because I changed where I was working. I was working 12 miles away, I now work 40 miles away. That's an 80-mile round trip. In a 24 kilowatt hour Leaf, you could do it, but you get very, very bored driving there and back, because you would have to do 55 mile an hour all the way. And when there's dual carriageways and fast A roads, you're not going to be doing that and fall out with the car. And ultimately, again, I've had people message me saying, do you know what, I've given it a go, 2 years down the line, I can't bear it anymore, I'm going to go back to a nice car. And once the batteries and the cars are able to do what I want them to do at a price I can afford, then I'll go back to it. But you know, don't put yourself in that situation where you've spent, because they're not cheap, you spend a load of money on one of these cars with kind of rose tinted glasses on, only to find that, as I say, 6 months, 12 months, you're regretting making that decision. Don't put yourself off. So I've had to stop using this car to go backwards and forwards to work in, and it's not the end of the world. Sarah uses it. She works 7 miles away from home, so a 14-mile trip every day, perfectly within the capabilities of this car. I take the petrol car. It's now costing me money. Yeah, if you follow my vlogs, you'll know that I'm looking for another EV that can do that journey for me, that 80-mile journey. And it's all kind of at the moment on hold to wait and see what the new Leaf is like, see whether we're going to buy that, and then on the back of that, what I can then afford as a second car. So really, in a nutshell, what I want you to think about if you're thinking of buying an EV is be honest with yourself. What do you do every day in your car? Is that mileage within the capabilities, and I mean really within it, not, or I'm a couple of miles to spare? You know, give yourself 15 miles within those capabilities. That will allow for when it gets really cold, really hot, or you drive a bit quicker, whatever the situation is. Give yourself plenty of room to maneuver. Is my everyday driving well within that for the battery size that I'm looking at? Don't worry what the car is. The car, it's like anything, it's a car. If it is well within it, then absolutely, you've got nothing to worry about. Go for it. You'll save yourself a fortune. You'll love it. It's it's the future. I keep saying it. Nothing will put me off. I know that EVs are where we're going. If you're regularly going to be tight on the mileage, or if you regularly do longer miles where you have to rely on charging, then really be honest with yourself. And this is where these week-long test drives really come into their own. Look at the charge posts you're going to stop at. Are there multiple charge points there? Can you afford 30 minutes every time you stop to charge? Can you can you put up with that? Can you, how many stops do you do en route? Do you just do the one stop, in which case grab yourself a coffee, it's no issues, or do you have to do 3, in which case you've just put an hour and a half on your journey, and is that going to really annoy you? And are you like me? You can put up with that. You're happy because you like a gadget, you like something new, you enjoy the car that much. Whatever your reason is, can you put up with it? But is it just about you? Do you have, like for example, Sarah? She won't do those long journeys with me in this car. Ask yourself all these questions, and if you start answering yes to any of those questions, how many of those yeses can you put up with? If it is just a case of, yeah, all right, I can do one charge every day on every journey for half an hour, then fine, brilliant. So be 100% honest with yourself, and then you will not regret it in the future. You'll love driving the EVs, you'll love everything they offer. Just be realistic on what size battery you need and how much you want to spend. And if it's not right at the moment, let's be honest, they're like mobile phones. 6 months time, there's going to be a whole raft of new EVs. 12 months time, even more. 18 months time, the 60 kilowatt hour Leaf hopefully will be out then at a reasonable price, and it's another option again. So once we start getting through that 200 up towards 300 mile range, then this kind of whole conversation becomes obsolete, because charge rates will be faster and we'll be able to go further for longer. So with that in mind, thanks ever so much for watching today. Hopefully it's been helpful to you. Hopefully it's answered some of those questions that I keep getting asked in my inbox, and good luck if you're searching for an EV. I'm sure there'll be one out there, if it's not now, within the next 12 months, that will suit your needs. So if you've enjoyed today's vlog, remember to like and share it, and if you're not doing so already, subscribe to the channel, and you can find me on Instagram and Twitter at EV Opinion. Take care, see you soon.